Good morning and welcome back to the One Celtic Fans View, where you get your daily Celtic news first thing in the morning. And remember to click the first link down in the description of this video if you're looking for anything on Amazon this morning. Right, to the Celtic news today. There is some speculation around some players, but we're not even going to talk about them. We're going to talk about one that is going to leave Celtic for definite by the looks of it. Interested in 18-year-old Rocco Vata's potential opportunity to leave this January transfer window. Has been said all season that Rocco Vata didn't want to sign a new contract, and it was highly expected that he was trying to get a move last summer, hence the reason that he's been put down into the B team and just left to play in the B team this year. He didn't want to go out on loan, and it now looks as if he's going to go to Italy, to Bologna, which could be a good move for him. But it is another young player that Celtic are letting go. So when we get back to the players that we currently have, any team would miss Liel Abada, and how everyone got it so wrong, how the media got it so wrong. They tried to chase Liel Abada out the door. You got to remember, Brendan Rodgers went out for a lunch with Liel Abada during the October break, international break, and he wanted to make sure that the mindset of Liel Abada was all right. It's Mark Wilson's been talking about it, and he said, look, with the club the January transfer window, Liel Abada is going to be like a brand new player for Brendan Rodgers going into the second half of the season. We're going to talk about the second half of the season because, look, as it stands just now, this squad can still win this league. This squad can win the league, and we're going to talk about it why in a couple of minutes. So make sure you stick around to the end of the video, and make sure you give it a thumbs up. Also, say, look, when the 22-year-old, when he came into the club, his very first game, he scored. And Brendan Rodgers even says, look, he's been scoring goals ever since. It's been unfortunate that he's been out this season. He did cost 3.5 million in 2021. He's bagged in a number of goals throughout the past two seasons, and he's expected to bang in a number of goals towards the end of this season. He's going to be an important player. And what it does do, it means that the likes of James Forrest and Mikey Johnson will drop back down the pecking order. Will Mikey Johnson be one of the players to leave this window, or will he stick around to the end of the season to try and see if he can get that new deal from Celtic? Now, let's get back to Rocco Vata. The fact that Fabrizio Romano, the transfer guru on Twitter, he said that Bologna are obviously interested in the 18-year-old talent Rocco Vata, the opportunity to leave this window. Talks expected to take place soon. More will follow as the interest is starting to grow in the Irish talent. Right, let's look at the players that are coming back and look at the players that are in the squad just now. Obviously, if you've been watching Benji Siegrist Instagram, he's been enjoying his holidays. The players will be back in training this week as Brendan Rodgers prepares the team for the big mighty Bucky Thistle. Scott Bain and Joe Hart will still remain. Scott Bain will remain as the backup goalkeeper. What does it do for Benji Siegrist? He really needs to be playing first team football, if you ask me. Will he leave in this window? Will he stamp his feet and leave this window? Or will he hang about until his contract expires? And then we've got the ongoing saga with Joe Hart. But when you look at the defenders, looks like Gustav Lagerbielke is on his way out the door at Celtic. There has been indications that he might go to Italy. One player that thought he was going to go to Italy that hasn't had any offers as yet is Alexandro Bernabe. Yes, the guy that was brought in to take over from Greg Taylor, who just doesn't seem to have worked for him at Celtic for whatever reason. I was really hoping that the little guy from Argentina was going to be a lot better and he was going to stamp his authority on that position, but it hasn't. So the back four that we're going to end up going into the tail end of the season is going to be Alistair Johnston, Greg Taylor, Liam Scales, and the big man himself, Cameron Carter-Vickers, which means Stephen Welsh and Tony Ralston will be on the bench on a regular basis, and Rocky, I reckon he'll be on the bench also. But that is what it is. We're going to lose two defenders. Is it a big deal? Not really. Kobayashi looks like he will be on his way back to Japan also. So that'll be three that will leave. Hopefully in this transfer window that will trim down that squad a bit and get us ready for the summer transfer window. I'm surprised there's not been a lot of speculation about the next player I want to talk about because he is entering the last 6 months of his contract. It would be surprising if Celtic didn't try and offload the player, even though he does have goals. I know he has scored goals at the beginning of the season. I don't know if Brendan Rodgers is still trying to convince him, but it has been suggested that he has turned down an offer from Celtic, and everyone's expecting David Turnbull to leave. people are saying that, look, he's not good enough and he's had his chance at Celtic. He can score goals from that midfield. But with Liel Abada coming back into the fold, does that then push David Turnbull further down the pecking order? As I know he doesn't play in the same position as Turnbull, but when you look at Paulo Bernardo, Matt O'Reilly, Rio Hatate back in the fold in that midfield, it's going to be a fantastic run-in to the end of the season. Celtic are on fire. Celtic are the one in the dominance, right? We've been there and done it over the last 2 seasons. We're in front as we go into the second half of the season. It is all in our hands. It is all in our hands as it stands. And we have a fantastic midfield. You've then got the likes of James McCarthy and you've got Kwon. It'll be interesting to see what happens with the South Korean. But James McCarthy, is he going to be let go? Will he finally accept that final bid from Celtic to get him off the wage book? Or will he just milk Celtic for all he can until the end of the season when his contract expires? And then you've got Tomoki Iwasa, Callum McGregor and James Forrest all kicking about that midfield also. It'll be interesting to see what happens with Tomoki Iwasa, because he was the player that we're all hoping that would sit in that midfield berth and allow Callum McGregor to run further forward. Hopefully he gets his fitness back and he gets into that position. But it has been suggested that Celtic could go out and get a player to basically replace Iwasa. So that's going to be interesting over the next couple of weeks. Now, we look at Liel Abada on the wing and Dyson on the other side. What does that do for Lewis Palmer? What does it do to Lewis Palmer? Does the Lewis Palmer then drop to the bench to let in Liel Abada? When you look at players that are unhappy and are at the Asian Cup at the moment, you've got Marco Tilio, who is back in Australia, and it's been suggested that he wants to get some game time back in Australia. You've then got Yang and Mikey Johnson. What can you say about Mikey Johnson? Is like the bad smell, it doesn't want to leave. But you know, Mikey Johnson, has he done enough for you? He has scored a couple of goals. He didn't score since 2019. A lot of people are saying, look, he's had his chance. He's not done it. He's a player that could be leaving at the end of the season. Will he leave this transfer window? I very much doubt it, as Brendan Rodgers does like him as a player. Kyogo and isn't at the Asia Cup, which will be a godsend to Brendan Rodgers. But does that leave Brendan Rodgers with a dilemma on whether to bring in a new striker in this window or not? Because let's face it, he could replace Kyogo and put the one and only Abada through the middle. Abada does score goals. He likes coming in off the wing and scoring goals. But if you need to be, you could play Abada in the position. All because O is away to that Asia Cup. It does leave us a little bit short in that position. But I still think that this squad is strong enough to win the league. Yes, we need to bring in players. We need to be forward-thinking. Celtic, for me, need to be much more forward-thinking in the fact that we need to be looking at the next transfer window. If we can possibly get the players in that we want in now, get them bedded in so that they're ready for the Champions League. And we'll admit it, the Champions League was a big disappointment for Celtic over this season. I thought right when the Champions League draw was made, I was over the moon. I was ecstatic. If you watched the live that day, you would see how excited I was. I thought it's the easiest group that we've had many, many years of trying to get into the Champions League and not succeeding. This was the easiest chance, I thought, for us to finish third or even second in the group. What transpired is we did finish on 4 points, which was more than last season. But let's face it, it was a disappointing Champions League campaign as far as we're concerned. We didn't reach the heights that we thought we might have. Getting players sent off, you can't bring that into the equation. You know, if we'd managed to keep the players on in games, young Gustav gets caught short, and Feyenoord, Dyson, Myra, you know, it's just one of those things. If those players are kept on the pitch, I suggest that we'd probably finish with more than 4 points. Was it a successful season in the Champions League, finishing on 4 points? I would say it was improvement. Was it improvement in playing style? We need to stop comparing the last couple of seasons. For me, it was improvement on last season, purely because the fact that we finished on 4 points. Going forward, this team knows what it takes to win. They know how important it is to turn up in the big games, and they turned up in the big games towards the end of the last few months, even though they did get beat twice in October and December even. Jesus, can't even remember what day of the week it is. Anyway, that's enough for your Celtic news this morning. I'm not sure if I'm going to do a live tonight. I think we might do one live tonight. I'm not going to do many lives during the January periods just because there's not as many people around at this moment in time until the football returns towards the end of the month. So on that note, have a fantastic day, Celtic fans all around the world.